Right now, 44 at O'Hare, 45 along the lakefront. Your next news update is at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
From the Matrix Home Solutions studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560, The Answer, online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, on TuneIn, iHeart, and radio.com. When you've got questions, he always has an answer. It's Sean Hannity, this afternoon at 2 on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. When you erase the lines, see it play out over and over and over again. Tom Slater, deputy editor over at Spiked Online, sort of paraphrasing Billy Joel, we didn't start this culture war. First, the Muppet Show gets slapped with a warning label. Then Mr. Potato Head gets degendered. Then they came for Dr. Seuss. Where do they go next? I'll tell you.
Pepe Le Pew has been taken out of Space Jam 2.
Charles Blow, writing in the New York Times.
Nice name.
As a child, I was led to believe blackness was inferior, and I was not alone. The black society into which I was born was riddled with these beliefs. It happened for children in the most inconspicuous of ways. It was relayed through toys and dolls, cartoons and children's shows, fairy tales and children's books. Some of the first cartoons I can remember included Pepe Le Pew, who normalized rape culture, according to Charles Blow. Speedy Gonzalez, whose friends helped popularize the corrosive stereotype of the drunk and lethargic Mexicans, and Mammy Two Shoes, a heavyset black maid who spoke in a heavy accent. Below admitted he cheered when Dr. Seuss got canceled, because obviously he has more on his hit list. By the way, since he mentioned Speedy Gonzalez.
Yeah, I remember him.
You remember Slowpoke Rodriguez?
Oh, yeah.
Only the fastest mouse can make it, which is me. Not the slowest mouse, which is you.
Maybe Slowpoke is pretty slow downstairs in the feet. But he's pretty fast upstairs in the cabeza.
Yeah.
Cabeza meaning brain. Yeah, that's good.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
Just in case people didn't know.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. Thanks for bringing that back.
Well, I figured we probably have a clearance on this. We better play it while we're still allowed to. For more on the purge that persists, which we've been talking about intermittently all morning, as well as that
come on,
insufferable interview. Brendan O'Neill, editor of Spiked. He's Tom Slater's boss. Brendan, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hi, thank you.
So let's start with some of the work of your colleague there, Tom Slater, and where this goes next is obviously the purging is occurring in the West in general, not just here in America.
It's just going to get more and more insane all the time. They have the smell of blood in their nostrils now, the cancel culture mob, and they're going to go after more and more forms of culture. And now they're going after the most innocent forms of culture, cartoons I remember watching when I was growing up. And of course, they did not make us think in a particular way. They did not mold our brains to be sexist or racist or anything else. They were enjoyable throwaway cartoons that people, of course, took with a pinch of salt and then forgot soon afterwards. So there's this crazy idea that some people in the cultural elites have, this idea that everything we see, everything we read, everything we watch is training us to be hateful, horrible individuals. The real world isn't like that, and they really need to calm down.
There's something else, too. I mean, I don't know how old you are, but I'm a child of the 80s, and I remember the sitcoms I watched growing up, as well as the cartoons, even before the sitcoms. And I remember a lot of the lessons of Different Strokes or Silver Spoons, Brady Bunch, being very positive lessons against treating people disrespectfully, recognizing differences but not letting differences limit your relationships, and all of the other sort of grade school lessons, frankly, that I thought most of us learned growing up from our parents and even from the culture at the time, that have now been eschewed because you have to have these identitarian thugs come over the top and just beat you down for characteristics that are beyond your control.
Absolutely right. And I'm a child of the 80s too. And I remember huge amounts of culture that was about encouraging us to treat people fairly, encouraging us, in fact, to have a post-racial view, to move beyond the idea of race. You know, the Martin Luther King idea was still quite strong through to the 1980s. The problem with these identitarian thugs, the problem with the cancel culture mob is that they are actually backtracking on all of those gains, and they're now encouraging us all the time to think racially, to obsess over racial questions and questions of identity. What they're doing, they're taking a very Maoist approach to culture. This is like the Cultural Revolution of the 1960s, where you had Maoist mobs in China burning old books, erasing problematic statues and problematic cultural artifacts, correcting people who were guilty of wrong things, sometimes publicly humiliating them if they had the wrong views. We're living through something similar now. It might be more peaceful. It's not quite as bloodletting as some of the events in China were, of course, but there's a similar dynamic, this desire to purge the public sphere of anything that they decree to be problematic. And that is just an outright assault on freedom.
Well, which cartoon character do you think is next, and how is this going to end? I mean, when are they going to stop? Until everything's gone?
Well, I was thinking that today. In fact, I was talking to some friends this morning. What will they come for next? I mean, and one of my friends said it will have to be something like The Simpsons. But of course, they've already come to The Simpsons. And, you know, there's this whole discussion about whether white actors can voice black characters. And there's the discussion about Apu, who was always one of my favorites.
Yeah, Hank Azaria.
Whether it was, you know, whether it was appropriate to have an Asian shopkeeper. And as some people have pointed out, you know, why should a cartoon or anything else always have a kind of incredibly successful Asian character? Why can't they have an Asian character who is working class, who works in a shop, which will be a familiar experience to many, we say Asian for Indian. I know you guys tend to say Asian more for Chinese and Korean people, but why not have an Indian character who is a shop worker? What's so problematic with that? So the way in which they want to cleanse culture and make it representative of their outlook alone, it's a very authoritarian approach. It's a very dictatorial approach. And what it does, it makes the world of culture even more fearful. And the next cartoons that come out, the next movies that are going to be made, the books that are going to be written by people who are quite young today, I think it's all going to be very safe. People are going to play it safe. They're going to worry about being cancelled. They're not going to push the boundaries. So the way in which this will have a chilling effect on future cultural output, that's something that worries me too.
That's a good point. Now, I didn't watch this interview because
I did.
I'm not, well, no, because my COVID life isn't so bad where all I have to look forward to is this Oprah interview with those two royal welfare queens. But what I do know is that, as per usual, anytime Northwestern University is in the news, the value of my degree goes down. And now the latest installment, I have Meghan Markle to thank, I understand.
Well, I haven't seen the interview yet either, because here in the UK, even though it was our monarchy that was being dissed on this TV show, we haven't seen it yet. It's going to be aired. It's going to be broadcast this evening in the UK. But I've seen lots of the clips. I've read lots of the transcripts, and I've seen what Harry and Meghan were saying. I'm afraid I think it was a grotesque spectacle. What we had here in a country in which millions of people lost their jobs as a result of lockdowns, i.e. the United States, where people are really struggling and are worried about the future. We had a Duke and a Duchess in the unimaginably luxurious surrounds of a mansion in California telling a billionaire, Oprah Winfrey, how difficult their lives are, how oppressed they are, what victims they are. And that, I thought, was just repulsive. It's so completely out of touch. It's so tone deaf. And it really speaks to identity politics, the way in which identity politics allows privileged people to pretend to be oppressed. And that's what we saw in this ridiculous conversation. And I think lots of people in the UK will have found it very offensive.
Since you're the only one who saw it, Amy, did Oprah give them cars at the end?
No, nobody got a car. And they were
okay.
at Gayle King's house, a neutral setting, between Oprah's house and her house. But one part of the interview, I don't know if you heard, it's when Meghan actually broke down. She said that she's had suicidal thoughts. It had consumed her while she was pregnant with Archie. And she told Harry this, and she said that and that she went to the firm and that they didn't help her with her problems. Listen.
But we had to go to this event, and I remember him saying, I don't think you can go. And I said, I can't be left alone.
Because you were afraid of what you might do to yourself?
And we went, and
I'm so sorry to hear that.
And that picture, if you zoom in, what I see is how tightly his knuckles are gripped around mine.
So she said
I could
she was,
barely hear her over the birds chirping, but
she said she was, they took her passport and driver's license and keys to her apartment as soon as they became, as they got married. And she said that she was trapped in that bubble and she couldn't live and nobody was there to help her. Are you buying any of it?
But I'm not really buying that, no. And I say this, by the way, as a Republican. I've been if you go on Wikipedia and look at the list of British Republicans, I'm on there. I want Britain to be a republic at some point in the future. I'm not a fan of the monarchy, but her account just doesn't wash. And when Meghan got engaged to Harry, she was warmly welcomed in this country. Millions of people watched the wedding. People fell head over heels in love with her. Mm-hmm. There was a huge amount of commentary saying this is exactly the kind of young woman that we need in the royal family. She's feisty, she's interesting, and she's different.
We loved her in
Suits.
Only
when
yeah, right.
Yeah, later on she came out as this kind of obsessively woke, constantly lecturing us about the right way to think and the right way to behave, using her royal platform to serve a political purpose. And that's when people turned against her. So the hostility to Meghan in the UK is actually a result of how she behaved subsequently to marrying Harry. It's nothing to do with her race. It's nothing to do with her origin.
But she did bring up race because she said Archie wasn't going to be given a title or given security, and basically saying that because of the color of his skin. So basically painting the royals like complete racists.
Completely and utterly untrue. Archie is the great-grandson of the Queen, and the only great-grandchildren of the Queen who get a title like Prince are those who are the great-grandchildren of someone who is in direct line for the throne. For example, Prince William. Prince William is in direct line to the throne, so his children, i.e. the Queen's great-grandchildren, they are princes and princesses, but Harry's children are not. This is perfectly standard. This has been the way with the royal family for a very long time. So that's a complete invention. That's not true. Okay. And I think the playing of the race card was particularly worrying for us because there was none of that when Meghan came to the UK. There was warmth and people had open arms for her. And to this race baiting that some people are engaging in, I find it really horrible, actually, because it's creating a problem where there hadn't been one. And I think for Harry in particular to go along with some of this and to throw his own family under the bus, I think that's a bit of a betrayal.
Well, that was interesting. That's what I wanted to know, too. And again, I didn't watch it. I know they revealed the sex of their baby.
Yeah, it's a girl.
But did they reveal where Meghan keeps Harry's balls?
In her purse.
Oh, in her purse. Oh, okay.
That she
well, there
keeps
you go.
by her side at all times.
I don't have to watch it. Oh, great. Well, that's good. I just wanted to know. Brendan, it is interesting. I actually do buy that Meghan Markle felt trapped a little bit because isn't this the argument that freedom-loving people make about being a ward of the state, and that's what those two are. So, this is about getting off the dole and living your lives and maintaining control of your lives rather than just being a state dependent. So maybe that was a little bit confiscatory, even in the royal confines.
But what I find, yes, you're right. And I want all the royals to be cut off eventually in the sense that I don't think we should be paying them to have this, to play this undemocratic role that they play in British society. But I don't buy the idea that she was completely clueless about what royal life involves. I mean, you don't have to be an expert on the British monarchy to know that entering into the royal family is a serious business. It's a job. You have to curtsy to the Queen every time you see her, even if you are her son, her grandson, or Meghan Markle. That's how it works. Mm-hmm. And for her to say she didn't know any of that, I just don't find that convincing at all. The fact is that if you're in the royal family, if you're someone like the Queen in particular, that's a life of public duty. You make a lot of self-sacrifice. The Queen has never gone on TV and advertised her emotions or told us how awful her life has been and how much pressure she's been under, which she has been for a very long time. She doesn't do that. She puts up with it and carries on with her role. Meghan Markle wasn't willing to do that. Now, maybe that's fine. That's her choice. But the problem is not that the monarchy is a particularly strange institution. It's that the culture of self-reflection and narcissism and self-regard that Meghan Markle and other celebrities tend to typify, that just doesn't fit well with an institution that actually asks people to make some sacrifices to the broader cause of public duty.
Maybe if they feature her on like a forthcoming season of The Crown, she'll shut up or something.
Oh,
I
they
don't
watched
know.
The Crown, by the way. Yeah.
Brendan O'Neill, editor of Spiked, Spiked Online. Brendan, thanks so much for joining us as always. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
If you're an AM 560 listener, one thing I'm certain of is that you're not tuning in to listen to me. So I'm sorry about the next 47 seconds. But we have specifically chose this station because we think we're similar, and we'd love for you to see 3 reasons